So again, good afternoon, and I will be giving this afternoon a brief update on ESEF. You will see a lot of the material and content I will cover has already been introduced very effectively by Annemie, who is indeed the new chair of the CRSC. As Eurofiling members may remember, the Corporate Reporting Standing Committee is the standing committee to which the ESEF working group within ESMA reports to. So Annemie and myself will be working together in the future. Well, and obviously her team at the FSMA will be working together in future, and we have obviously been working together in the past, and you will see that reflected in a lot of aspects in the slides I'm about to present to you. The first topic I'd like to tackle in my quite short presentation today is ESEF delay, which I know for this community is somewhat of maybe of a painful topic to hear about, but nonetheless important to see, to recap where we are at with ESEF implementation. So in this regard, I'd like to highlight that on 16th of February, we finally saw the publication of the capital markets recovery package, which includes, among other things, an amendments to the prospectus regulation, within which there is a clause amending the transparency directive. And this is relevant because even if, so the content of this had been widely anticipated after the political agreement which had been reached in December 2020, but this is what kind of puts it in legal terms and amending the relevant legislation. I just realized my name on Zoom has got 3 N's. Never mind. It's actually ANNA, of course. So the, oh, sorry, I'm going too far. So I'd like to just concentrate 1 second on this amendment, because it is interesting to see how it is worded, and the mechanics of the delay for member states. As you will see, this is a direct amendment to the first subparagraph of Article 4 of the Transparency Directive, paragraph 7, and it adds to that paragraph the sentence, however, a member state may allow issuers to apply the reporting requirements for financial years beginning on or after 1st of January 2021, provided that the member state notifies the Commission of its intention to allow such a delay by 19th of March 2021, and its intention is duly justified. So what does this tell us? It tells us that there will not be, or at least this is the interpretation Commission staff has communicated, that this means that there won't be a need for transposition of this provision into national legislation. This is directly applicable, provided that member states notifies the Commission of the intention to allow a delay. And there is a deadline. The hard deadline is 19th of March, so a week from now. And the justification, well, we have seen that this justification for this is widely believed to be the recovery from the COVID-19 crisis. So what has this led to? As of yesterday, 10th of March, 19 member states had notified the Commission of their intention to take up the option to delay. The European Commission has helpfully made available a list of member states which have chosen to delay. I've included this link, but I think you're probably already aware of this through other publications you probably have seen. And I'd like to highlight that the way the delay has been conceived makes it possible for filers to still submit or make public an ESEF annual financial report on a voluntary basis, even in jurisdictions where there has been a delay. This can either be their official publication as per the Transparency Directive, or it can be a voluntary submission in addition to their let's say PDF publication, or kind of the same publication as in the past years. As I mentioned, the member states have another week to notify Commission of delay, but we're not aware that any further member states intend to delay. Of course, never say never, but there's only 1 week to go. This also means that as of today, we expect that 8 member states will not delay ESEF, and then therefore ESEF annual financial report will be the only format acceptable for annual financial report prepared in accordance with the Transparency Directive. In these circumstances, so in those member states where ESEF has not, the option to delay ESEF was not taken up, PDFs can continue to be published on a voluntary basis. However, issuers need to make sure that any PDF publication is consistent with the ESEF publication. There cannot be divergence of information. There cannot be different things disclosed in one report, in one format of the report as opposed to the other. And it should be clearly labeled in the annual financial report in PDF that this is not, or it should be, the ESEF file should be clearly labeled as the official submission which complies to the TD, and it should not, users should not be misled to believe that the PDF version is that official version. As you're obviously aware also, there is no single access point at European level for the time being, but all filings will be available in the portals of the officially appointed mechanisms. And the early filings are already available in those OEMs. If you wish to have an up-to-date list of links to OEM portals, those are accessible on ESMA's website. I've included the link in the slide that I'm sure Elena and Ignacio will be able to circulate after the meeting. As Anemi mentioned, watch out for Commission's legislative proposal in, Q3 and not Q2. That's a typo, 2021, with regard to the European single access point, on which I'll come back in a moment. I'd like to spend most of the time in this presentation to actually present to you ESMA's activities in 2021 with regards to ESEF, or at least the activities we have been planning at the moment. You will be familiar with most of these activities because clearly, contrarily to the past years where we were learning by doing, this is the updates to both single rulebook and supervisor convergence material at ESMA level is something we have already been doing for 2 years, and I hope participants to this call are to some extent familiar with what I'm about to talk about. So first of all, just like in the past, we will be updating our RTS on ESEF to incorporate therein the 2021 IFRS taxonomy. As I'm sure you're aware, around the end of March, the ISB is expected to publish the 2021 update to the IFRS taxonomy, incorporating mainly changes to the standards and new common practice elements. And as in the past year, ESMA will amend the RTS proposed to the European Commission and to the co-legislators, an amendment to the legal text of the delegated regulation, so that it becomes possible for issuers to use the 2021 taxonomy. We expect that just like last year, this process will take some months. So we aim to publish the draft RTS as ESMA before end of June, hopefully earlier, hopefully end of May or beginning of June. After which there will be a 3 months period for the Commission to adopt the draft RTS, and another 3 months as per the new ESMA regulation for Parliament and Council to object to that update. Things have gone smoothly last year, so we do not expect any delays, and we hope that the regulation will be in place and published in the official journal before end of the year. Just like last year, this means that for next year's exercise, issuers will be able to choose between the 2020 and the 2021 IFRS taxonomy. So either to early adopt the 2021 taxonomy or to use the 2020 taxonomy, similar to what we did in last year with regards to the 2020 IFRS taxonomy. And if you're familiar with ESMA parlance, let's say, this is what we call single rulebook activity, because it goes to impact the single rulebook of European legislation. Alongside this work, as you know, we have been very active in publishing material which aims to support harmonized application of ESEF and of its rules. And we aim to update those publications, obviously, in 2021. In particular, this is the XBRL taxonomy files, which mirror the RTS on ESEF. So we will replicate the same update of the RTS also in the XBRL taxonomy files, but also something we have come up with last year, which is the conformance suite. In 2020 was a bit of a special year because we published the conformance suite for the first time in March and then updated them at the end of the year. Obviously, in a target scenario, we will only be publishing the conformance suite once. So we expect, as in the past, we rely for these publications on translations of the core taxonomy elements provided by the European Commission translation services, and therefore we have to wait until the Commission adopts the draft RTS, which ESMA will submit at the latest in June in order to publish these materials. So you can expect these around in end of Q3 or beginning of Q4 this year, depending on how fast the adoption process goes. It will mirror the process as you've seen it happening in 2020. Another important piece of guidance which ESMA has been providing to market participants and intends to continue to update and provide is the reporting manual. We will continuously assess the need for further filing guidance and assess where and hear from stakeholders where there's a need for additional clarity on existing guidance. I think you've seen that what we try to the best of our capacity to be responsive on our ESEF mailbox, esef@esma.europa.eu. And that's where we also get a lot of the feedback which ends up feeding into amendments or changes to the reporting manual. So you will see an updated version of the reporting manual this year as well. Just as in the past, you will see this in July this year if all goes as planned. As we, the fourth aspect of our activities in 2021 is supervisory convergence among national competent authorities. As I'm sure you're very aware, ESMA does not have supervisory powers, direct supervisory powers towards ESEF. Those powers remain with national competent authorities. And ESMA's role in this regards is to try to harmonize as much as possible enforcement activities on ESEF in order to create a level playing field among issuers and to ensure that the rule set in the single rule book is understood and applied in as similar as possible ways across the European Union. So this is something that obviously becomes now the focus of our activities, as we're seeing with the first ESEF files where divergence may arise and where are the areas in which we should focus on in future years. Clearly, some of this we have some structural limitations in our supervisory convergence activities. You will be familiar with the differences in the gateway set up by OEMs to submit files, the different powers OEMs, which are private actors, and OEMs, which are NCAs, dispose of. Therefore, this is a really challenging area, one where we're only one in which we will definitely focus on in coming years and to start with this year. Last but not least, we have concentrated a lot in the past in outreach with preparers and software vendors. Now it's time to turn to investors and other end users to make sure that ESEF data will be looked at and leveraged upon in investment decision making. And this is also where we expect further feedback on how to further improve ESEF, how to make it more user-friendly, how can we maximize the efforts that issuers are putting into preparing ESEF annual financial reports. And we intend to engage with investors and other end users to understand, obviously within the boundaries of our mandate and capacities, how can we make ESEF as user-friendly as possible. I also would like to touch upon two aspects which Annemie has already discussed by going, again, stressing that even if the 1-year delay of ESEF may have been a bad news for many of you and many of the software providers in the audience, whilst of course being a big relief to a number of issuers, that is only one, it's only a small step, a small pause in the progress of digital reporting, but there is a lot happening which suggests that this is only the first step, and in fact, much more is to come in future years. And I had mentioned it in one of our Eurofiling monthly calls not long ago, that ESMA would contribute to the targeted consultation by the European Commission on the European Single Access Point. And as Annemie already mentioned, well, that letter was published early last week, and it's available on ESMA's website. I will provide you with links. There is both a response to the consultation and a letter to the Commission. And in the three main aspects, which I would like to highlight to you today, is that in ESMA's view is that a phased approach should be the way forward, and we argue that the first phase should focus on financial and non-financial information by companies, whenever such information is prepared in a comparable way, and priority should be given to information prepared in a machine-readable format. And obviously, as was already mentioned, that is a big challenge because we're seeing with ESEF how much effort it takes to transition from analogical to digital when it comes to annual financial reports, and that's only one piece of information. So when we think of extending machine readability requirements to other sets of information, consideration needs to be given to the effort, not only to develop those requirements, but obviously to apply them. That's why we're recommending that further sets of information should be rendered in a machine readable format following cost-benefit analysis, which shows that the benefits obviously outweigh the costs. We also argue in favor of a clear data governance, and this is something that is really important to us. We think that a single access point would be most useful if the data contained therein is of the highest quality, and for that there need to be checks at the time of submission of the data to the platform to the maximum possible extent. It has to be clear who owns the data once the data has been submitted to the platform, and there have to be enforcement powers in case of any problems with that data. And I encourage you all to, well, you have until today, COB, if I'm not wrong, to provide a response to the Commission consultation. I realize that might be a little short for those of you who haven't started yet. But I encourage you to look at ESMA's response, and there may be other occasions to also share your views with the Commission if you're not providing a response as such. One other aspect that I also care to mention is that ESMA deems to be well placed to set up and run the ISAF, at least in this first phase, where we claim that the focus should be on capital markets related legislation. And therefore we put ourselves forward for this very challenging but also very exciting task. And I know some of you in your refiling have been supporting ESMA through this process, and I want to thank you for that. Just very briefly on the revision of the non-financial reporting directive, I wanted to highlight that in the summary report of the public consultation, the Commission has summarized the responses that were given with regards to the use of a taxonomy structure for environmental disclosure, and 69% of respondents believed that an FRD should define disclosures in a digital format. And we expect a proposal for the revision of the NFRD in the second half of April. EFRAG's proposal for digitization of information obviously also points in that same direction. So we're very much looking forward to seeing what happens in this context when it comes to digital reporting for non-financial information. And I'll stop here and see if there's any question on for me on ESMA's activities and what the future looks like from our perspective. Thanks a lot.